At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
You're listening to Pilgrims Grey Chronicles, top 3 stories of the week. The world's gone strange, but we love a good peek. From shadows deep to the global stage, we bring the truth from age to age. With harmony bold and a skeptical tone, we dig up the news they don't want known. So stoke the fire and have a seat. This week's top 3 can't be beat. Pilgrims Grey Chronicles.
Well, welcome, travelers. You've reached the edge of the realm, where the headlines lie, shadows move, and ancient war scripts unfold beneath the surface of modern life. So this week, the veil didn't just shift, it tore. In the east, quakes ripple through Watcher lands as whispers of buried giants, blackmail files, and digital gates rise from the dust. In the American heartland, a legislator is gunned down, and her killer connected to the governor's office, foreign contractors, and possibly something even darker. And in the West, the boots are black, military boots, patrolling American streets, executing rituals of control disguised as immigration enforcement. Yeah. Isn't just politics, not just coincidence, it's convergence. So light your lantern, sharpen your discernment, because what's coming is older than empire and written in the blood of kings. This is Pilgrims Grey Chronicles. Robert Clark, your host, and these are your top 3 stories of the week. Let's pull back the curtain. Stoke the fire, have a seat. They can't. They cannot be beat. Thank you, singers. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, the Middle East is on fire again, but this is not war. It's a carefully orchestrated ritual play operating on multiple levels: spiritual, geopolitical, and informational. The latest Iran-Israel conflict is not just about nukes or national defense. It may be about gates, giants, and grids of control the public doesn't even know exist. So let's walk through it like an initiate breaking through the veil here, right? So, this week, 3 so-called earthquakes struck in highly sensitive areas of the Middle East. A 5.1, 36 kilometers southwest of Semnan, Iran. A 4.2, 37 kilometers north of Kashmir, Iran. And a 4.5, 33 kilometers southeast of Karabakh, Afghanistan. So, each of these earthquakes occurred at near identical shallow depths in the range of 10 kilometers or less, which is the typical depth of underground detonations, events, or tunnel collapses, not necessarily tectonic movement. So what's under those areas, you might ask? And that's a good question to ask. Semnan is near Iran's top aerospace and missile research sites. Kashmir is historically rich in Zoroastrian lore, long believed by occultists to be near Watcher stasis zones. Karabagh is in a mountainous region near what some believe are ancient Anunnaki strongholds or deep, dumb facilities. For those who don't know, that's a deep underground military base used by modern militaries. And they are not coincidences, they're alignments, they're strikes, perhaps by missiles, or by something even more advanced, using resonant energy weapons designed to crack open hidden vaults beneath the mountains of old empires. So, another aspect going on here, in 2020, Iran's IRGC reportedly breached several Israeli servers, stealing over 3 terabytes of sensitive data, including military intelligence and private files. Now, the Mujahideen Khalq, or MEK, a dissident group, claims that this data includes your favorite Jeffrey Epstein-related material, not just logs, but video, travel data, financial records, and communications. Now, why does this matter now? Well, because if Iran were to release this information during a public conflict with Israel, it would bypass the gatekeepers. It would not come from the CIA, it wouldn't be redacted, it would not be sanitized. If the Epstein network is exposed by a declared enemy, Trump's detractors can't claim he tampered with the release. This is what's being whispered in back channels. Quote, the Trump card is being held in Tehran, not Mar-a-Lago. And that may explain why the U.S. is suddenly guarding the skies over Iran, not to attack, but to make sure nothing gets out. So, another thing to think about or consider, Tucker Carlson, once championed as a truth teller, has suddenly shifted. Why is he defending Iran so forcefully? Could it be he's implicated in what may soon come to light? Who knows? He once applied to the CIA, had ties to Comet Ping Pong, and asked Hunter Biden to help pay for his child's tuition. A very strange entanglement for a conservative truth teller. I personally consider him controlled opposition. For that and many other reasons. And then we have Roger Stone, Epstein Island. Carlson supported Stone publicly. You just have to connect the dots. If Iran releases the Epstein files, it's not just about embarrassment. It could implicate intelligence networks, blackmail rings, elected officials, and controlled opposition media alike. It isn't just political, it's apocalyptic revelation and a huge unveiling. Right? It's just a possibility. And there's nothing wrong with coming up with these possibilities because you and I both know that what they're telling us in the open public media is probably a big pile of Barbra Streisand. So, remember the locations again, Simnad, Kashmir, and Karabagh. Why these places? Well, each sits on ancient high places, and more than one has ties to pre-flood ziggurats, Watcher imprisonment lore from First Enoch and the Book of Giants, ancient mountain temples where gods descended and giants slept. These earthquakes may be strike points or blocking events, perhaps. Don't know. I mean, I wish sometimes I had the ability to do a live show where I could literally ask people to call in. So it's not just my thoughts on the subject, but, you guys could toss your, thoughts in here on this. Maybe these are cracks in the prison doors of those places, right? Now, if you pair that with military maneuvers, the possible surfacing of blackmail files and strange celestial alignments, we are within solstice time, right? And you have a multi-layered psychological and spiritual warfare event. So, the game is not what it seems. Never is. So, it's not necessarily about nukes or democracy or Israel versus Iran. It's about the same old rebellion and the bloodlines of the Watchers trying to either awaken what's buried or suppress the truth before it burns their system down. If Iran really does possess 3 terabytes of Epstein-related files, and if they are strategically holding them as their real weapon, we may soon witness the implosion of Western media class, the exposure of compromised world leaders, and the unveiling of the spiritual hierarchy that's ruled this age in shadows. And yes, it could happen during a war that appears nuclear but is really revelatory. Right? Revelation 18, the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have grown rich through the abundance of her luxury, but in 1 hour she is made desolate. Anyway, the clock's ticking, veil is thinning, and someone just moved their queen into checkmate, maybe. So story 2, we have the targeted cleansing of bureaucratic blind spot, the Minnesota legislator attack. On June 14th, a deeply unsettling attack rocked Minnesota politics. 2 separate home invasions, 1 dead lawmaker, another critically wounded, and a suspect with an eerie backstory. Vance Luther Bolter is in custody. His hit list included over 70 names, including Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison, Representative Ilhan Omar, and other key political and Planned Parenthood figures. The mainstream media is calling it another case of political extremism, but I'm asking a different question. Was this political chaos or calculated cleanup? So, the Bolter-Walz connection, what's confirmed? To try to separate rumor from fact. In 2016, Bolter was appointed by then Governor Mark Dayton to the Workforce Development Board. In 2019, he was reappointed by Tim Walz. Though Walz's office claims the process was purely bureaucratic and that Walz had no personal contact or knowledge of Bolter. The board is nonpartisan, unpaid, and comprised of, so they say, of 60-plus members from business, education, and labor sectors. And Bolter was technically under Walz's purview. So there isn't necessarily any confirmed personal or operational relationship between Walz and Bolter, but it's not like this was a total stranger. He's definitely connected in some way there. But why appoint the guy, right? Here's where it gets strange. Bolter ran a security firm and claimed connections to international military work, Africa, Gaza, Lebanon. And though some of his business claims were unverifiable or fantasy-like, according to journalists and former colleagues, it's just very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. He was not a Democrat. He voted Republican in 2024 and was known for conservative anti-abortion views, supposedly. He dressed in tactical police-style gear, reportedly used a latex mask, and had a typed list of assassination targets in his vehicle. The attacks coincided with Minnesota's rollout of controversial smart governance and biometric initiatives tied to federal and international contracts. So why was this man quietly placed on a governor-approved board? It's definitely worth pondering, right? It's very interesting to me that he had the kind of police gear. I mean, it obviously fooled people. It just seems to me there was some sort of assistance here, including the latex mask. Some sort of assistance, probably beyond him. And this just reeks of some level of monarch MK Ultra garbage, frankly. And I think that the hit list was a mask. I don't think he made that hit list. I think that was meant to be found to throw people off. That's just my conjecture. But my conjecture is based off how I see these people operate all the time when I'm investigating these things. They are liars to the core. And when they need an asset to do something, they can make it look like anything they want, except it's like they've gotten so arrogant and cocky about it that they often don't tie up all their loose ends, because I think they realize that the vast majority of you out there are not paying attention, and you're not noticing weird stuff like the tactical star police gear that fooled everybody, the latex mask, and all these weird connections between Tim Walz and other corporate things, hiring him and so on. They don't want you to make those connections. So really, whether you see this as an MK Ultra style lone wolf, or a pawn in a deeper factional war, or a triggered asset who got too close to something sensitive, it's hard to ignore the ritualistic echoes here, targeting state legislatures at their private homes, selective silence from those who normally rally around gun violence narratives, right? A suspect with both bureaucratic credentials and ideological baggage, a perfect storm for public confusion, right? These are not random shootings, these are removals, and they are being processed through the same tired formula the elites always use when someone inconvenient needs to be made an example of. And seemingly, we never become wiser as a result of it. We just listen to the reporting from our favorite 24-hour news service and move on with our day to the next story without stopping and examining what they're saying and looking a little deeper. So if you zoom out, Governor Tim Walz has ties to global initiatives like the ESG climate compliance, biometric ID programs, and smart infrastructure grants, policies promoted at Davos, UN 2030 Agenda, and WEF partner summits. Minnesota is a testing ground for compliance tech where public contracts meet private surveillance partnerships, often funded by elite banking arms like BlackRock or Vanguard. And these players ultimately serve the global blueprint crafted by your favorite committee of 300 and the black nobility and their occult-aligned financial arms. So if someone like Bolter saw the machinery from inside, realized what was happening, and then snapped, that's one theory. Another, he was literally placed and activated to eliminate dissent and instill fear before the next rollout. Either way, he didn't get on the board by mistake. Right? So my final thought on that is this was not about one governor or one gunman. This is about the entire system, how bureaucratic machinery is weaponized silently, how loyalty is rewarded with placement, and how useful pawns can become fire starters when they are either exposed or used. So strange things are afoot in Minnesota, and now it's stained in blood. And the story they're telling you in the public is pretty much a whitewash. So, story 3, martial law, light in LA. Los Angeles, summer solstice week. Ritual season for those who track the deeper pulse of the powers that be. I am not 100% sure why summer solstice is so important, but it is to these spirit beings and those who follow them. If that weren't the case, then you wouldn't see so many megalithic structures, mounds, you name it, built and designed with the summer solstice in mind. Exactly aligned with it. But anyway, while the headlines scream immigration chaos, border protest, and ICE clashes, and everybody just eats it up and then gets in arguments online, left versus right, that whole paradigm that I don't even believe in anymore. I think it's all scripted. But what's really being deployed is psychological warfare. Anybody who digs long enough into this stuff begins to realize these guys are pros at playing bad cop, good cop, and doing the Hegelian dialect, where they both work together to create a problem, and then they choose who they choose, their pawns, to look like the bad guy, and then the one that comes along to rescue you from the bad guys is put on the pedestal as a white horse that you all fawn over and applaud, and oh, he thinks just like me, blah, blah. And it's just to fool you, so that you will, something you would never have done with a guy that you don't like, you'll be perfectly willing to do under this guy who's your guy. And they sucker you. Just like they did with, the Patriot Act. And we were all about it, right? We were all ready to go over and kill anybody that was, Middle Eastern. And accept the Patriot Act, which pretty much destroyed the Bill of Rights. Because now they can call anybody a terrorist and you no longer have any of your rights in the Bill of Rights. They can just come and get you in the middle of the night. They could really do it even before that anyway, but now this just puts it into law so they can, use the press to label you and smear you as some sort of terrorist and destroy your life. So anyway, back to the riots. For the first time, I think, since the 1992 riots, the U.S. military was federally deployed to a major American city without gubernatorial consent, invoking Title X as a bypass of state authority. Curfew swept across LA County. Over 500 people were arrested. Surveillance drones, biometric scans, armored vehicles, all under the guise of maintaining order. But this isn't about undocumented immigrants. That's the narrative shell, in my opinion. This is about total control trials. Why do I say that? Well, LA has been quietly selected as one of the primary nodes in the rollout of the Great Convergence plan. Integration of biometric ID tracking tied to CBDC test wallets, the use of facial recognition and predictive policing AI across urban sectors, the mapping of civilian resistance patterns in real time, activation of UN-aligned crowd dispersion protocols, and behind the curtain, contracts from Palantir, Raytheon, and Neuralink-adjacent data firms, all funded by globalist banking families that trace their bloodlines back to Venice, Babylon, and the fallen priesthoods of Rome. And the Watchers' heirs aren't just coming, they're preparing thrones. All of those people who participated, who were willing participants, who weren't aware of it, you were all just tracked and traced your patterns, just like an algorithm. They tracked and traced everything that people did during all of this. And then my guess is they'll also sell that information for other people who might need future crowd control things and what to do. So another thing about this is the timing. Summer solstice has always been one of the 8 sacred dates for occult and Luciferian calendars. It is a moment of ritual release where sacrifices, whether symbolic or real, it doesn't matter. Well, I mean, it does, but you get my point, are made to open spiritual gates. So we have earthquakes in ancient watcher zones and around in Afghanistan. We have a high-profile political assassination in the Midwest. We have martial law rehearsals in the entertainment capital of the world, all in the same 7-day ritual window. But I'm sure it's just a coincidence, not a convergence, right? These are all just, happenstance. So again, story 1, a so-called war between Iran and Israel, but in truth, it's a bloodline conflict over ancient stargates, watcher tombs, and perhaps even the release of data bombs that could shatter the media matrix forever. Earthquakes as cover, Epstein files as leverage, a clash scripted before the flood, still being played out by the sons of the serpent. And in story 2, the cleansing fire in the heartland. A politician dies, another silenced, a shooter with strange connections to both government boards and global security operations. Was it a purge? A warning? A failed containment operation? Whatever it was, it screamed, obey the beast or bleed. And in story 3, we have the dry run of the Iron Net. Los Angeles becomes a grid node. Military without state approval, which I get. I mean, here's the thing. If I didn't know what was going on, I'd be right there with most people thinking, well, look, the governor of California is a moron and doesn't know what he's doing. And we saw this back in 2020, right? So, of course, he has to step in. But now I realize that they all work together. It's a script. They do this so that they can accomplish what they need to accomplish, and you're all about it and for it because it appears to be the right thing to do. But in the meantime, just like all these other situations, like I was saying before about what they did with the towers in 9/11 and, all the ridiculousness that went on then. We all thought it was the right patriotic thing to do, but looking back on it, do you still think that? Because I don't. I think we were all made fools out of by these people, and I'm not about to let it happen to me again. I'm not going to be lied to and fooled by a bunch of people playing games with us. Good cop, bad cop routine. They set up a problem. They work together to create a problem like these riots. Then somebody comes in and, we're going to send in the military to help you all. Well, they were in on it too. So they knew all of this was going to happen. And what did they get out of it? A ton of surveillance information and how all of these things operate. Tracking cell phones, tracking everything, tracking the kind of behavior, algorithms, all of it, all tracked and traced and stored for future use. So, and of course, nobody in the press is going to bother to bring up things like the ritual timing of summer solstice with it. Because they would think it's crazy. Because most of them won't acknowledge publicly a spirit world or powers and principalities that are behind these things, whether they serve them, and are knowingly or not. So, again, this is not political. It is not national. This is not even modern. What you're witnessing is the final act of a spiritual insurgency that began in the heavens, descended on Mount Hermon, and is now manifesting in policy, bullets, and biometric change. The Watchers, their bloodline heirs, and their occult servants in the Black Nobility, the Committee of 300, and other secret organizations that many I probably don't even know the names of, but these I do. And corporate proxies that they operate through are activating another phase. Shake the ground, silence dissent, normalize lockdowns, and control before their final deception arrives. And in every step, the public is being conditioned to welcome their chains as long as they're draped in the language of peace, equity, or national security. Peace and safety, right? So, 3 stories, 1 script, written long ago beneath shattered thrones and burning skies. So whether it's seismic shadows beneath Iran, blood offerings in the Midwest, or black boots marching in the streets of Los Angeles, it's all part of the same ritual, a war of seed versus serpent, flesh versus spirit, and you're not watching history, you're watching Revelation. Not the book of, but just things are being revealed. And it's not the end, but it may be your last chance to stand while the tower is crumbling. So, if you'd like to join our resistance here at Pilgrims Grey Chronicles at our watchtower after visiting at the end, you're welcome to follow the trail by subscribing on YouTube at Pilgrims Grey Chronicles. You can listen in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcast. We're on several, including iHeartRadio. And you are welcome to send emails to us, or if you want to ask questions or be on the show, you can email us at pilgrimsgray@gmail.com. Reach out to us on Twitter. I always put the links now, every time I remember, in our videos for our social media, so you can check us out, and including our merchandise to support us. And of course, like, share, ring the bell, but most importantly, don't forget to pay attention on what's going on. Watch the skies, test the spirits, And the watchers will fall, but the pilgrim shall endure. So we'll see you at the watchtower, travelers, and until then, keep the fire lit. And as promised, here is the second outro dwarven-type Gregorian chant song. I told you last week we had 2 different versions, and this is the second one, so enjoy. Have a great weekend, y'all.
The hour grows late, the fires burn low, the watchmen speak of truce below. 3 tales we cast upon the stone, for those who stand but not alone. The towers shake, the shadows crow, the hidden hand still rules them all, but light endures where hearts remain, unmoved by gold, unmoved by fame. Oh, watchers gray with eyes like flame, we mark the path, we name the name. Let Friday fall, let silence keep. We guard the truth while others sleep. The week is sealed, the scroll is tied, the tales of kings, of blood, of pride, yet still we know the tale's not done. The morning comes, but not the sun. We guard the truth while